Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Denver, Colorado, it's time for Franchise Bible Coach Radio. Now, here are your hosts.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Franchise Bible Coach Radio with Rick and Rob. I'm your host, Rob Ganley, and I'm sitting in for Rick Grossman, the author of the Franchise Bible. And I wanted to go ahead and introduce our guests in just a minute. Before I do, I want to thank Entrepreneur.com and FranchiseBibleCoach.com for helping us and supporting us, especially over the last few months as we work through these unusual times. And so thank you to them. And so without further ado, I wanted to go ahead and introduce our special guest today, Aaron Marshal. He's the CEO and founder of Keyrenter Property Management. How you doing, Aaron?
I'm doing terrific. Thanks for asking.
That's great to hear. It's great to hear. So, Aaron, I love to start the shows off with this question, and that is, tell us a little bit about the brand, how you got started, and who you're serving.
Excellent. Yeah. So it goes back to really back my college days, back in 2001. I never thought and never anticipated I'd be the voice and the face of a franchise brand, let alone start one. And so I started getting into real estate. I did my first fix and flip back in 2001, graduated, and at that point, graduated August of 2001. September 11th happened. Nobody was hiring. And so I told my wife, honey, I'm a real estate agent. She's like, no, you're not. And so it took a couple of years to convince her with that. But first I got into real estate, and that kind of got me into property management. Keyrenter franchise, or Keyrenter Property Management, is a franchise brand that we manage mainly single-family homes, condos, townhomes, smaller multi-units for investors or property owners that don't want to be managing it themselves. And so I got into this buying with two of my own properties back in 2007, when I had two of my own rentals. Didn't know what to do, and so Keyrenter started December 2007. We then started franchising May of 2014, and our first franchises launched May of 2015.
Wow, that's amazing. So tell me a little bit about the marketplace. I mean, the folks that you serve, is it a particular type of customer or specialization, like commercial versus, do you do commercial or just residential, or how does that work?
We do very little commercial. If it's commercial, it's more on the smaller end. Our niche, I would say, at least in the West Coast, meaning kind of Mississippi West, is going to be mainly single-family homes and condos, townhomes. East of the Mississippi, that's where you get a lot of multi-units. You get the old mansions that turn into a six-plex or a three-plex or 9-unit, whatever that is. And so east of the Mississippi, we do a lot of multi-units. It really is depending upon each franchise owner. For us, our corporate stores, we love, and I would say probably 93% of our homes are going to be single-family homes that we manage. Some of those are going to be condos, or a few of them condos, townhomes. Most of them are single-family homes, just the homes that you and I live in. We don't, I love to say we specialize in the $1 million home, but those can be tough to get and tough to rent out. But we manage, whatever the average price range is in your area, we love managing that price range of areas and higher. It's tough for us to manage the lower income side. And because of that, over the last 3-4 months has been really, I don't want to say easy, but it's been, compared to other franchise brands out there, it's been easy for us because everybody needs a roof over their head. None of our franchises have closed. None of them have lost business because of COVID. It's been harder to build the business with COVID, but nobody's lost business because of that. And so that's really our segment, is that sometimes the accidental landlord, and I say the accidental landlord as the market shifts and changes, which it's going to be doing in the real estate market over the next 6 to 12, 18 months. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. for us overall system-wide, the month of March, we didn't see any loss in revenue. None of our franchises, very few delinquencies. Overall, we have less than a 1% delinquency rate per month anyways. In the month of April, we saw 5%. The month of May, we saw about a 9%. The month of June, it was 11%. We don't have the numbers out for July, but I think it'll start going down. I think we'll get down to 7-8%. So it's gone down for us overall. It's because of that segment of the market where we are focusing our efforts into the single-family homes and not the multi-units and not the large apartment buildings.
Right.
Those areas you've had people wanting to do a rent strike and other things both on the West Coast and the East Coast. We really haven't been involved with any of that, and it hasn't really affected us over the last few months.
Well, that's good to hear. That is good to hear. And do you have a prediction for the listeners in terms of how the real estate market might move, given kind of what we're in now with this uncertainty? And
so it's going to be interesting right now, and I think some of the listeners could echo the ones that have had to furlough people and trying to bring people back. If they make less than about $22 an hour, it's tough to bring them on board because they're making more staying at home than they would be working with you. And so as a result of that, it's harder to bring some of those people back. And I know in like Denver, in Seattle, in Seattle areas, in Portland, Oregon area, some of the California areas, rents are starting to decrease. And it's been decreasing, I would say, about 5% over the last 3 months. And so something renting out $3,400, $3,500, we're looking to get $3,000 out of that, maybe $3,050 right in there. That's about where the market's been going over the last 3 months. I think that's going to continue to have some consolidation. Some of the millennials, some of the younger generation are moving in with other people, moving in with parents, moving in with family members. And I think we're going to see some of that. Yeah. Whereas on the housing side, I've seen the opposite side, both here in Utah and some other markets across the country. That's been an uptick and increasing more. I don't know how long that will be. I think we'll see an influx of people moving out of the metro areas, the larger metro areas, Seattle, LA, Denver, New York, the bigger areas, and moving into more of the rural areas. And I think those areas are going to have more of a longer buyer season over the next couple of years. Okay,
good.
So for my prediction, I would say that.
That sounds
Rentals, good. I think we'll go down maybe 10, maybe even 15%, but I think it's going to level off. Here in Salt Lake City, where I am, we haven't seen much of a change, and I think it depends upon your state, depending upon if they've opened up at least to a couple different stages. For Utah, we have 4 different stages. We're on stage 3 to see where it affects housing. There's still the buyers out there. I know people are still buying. I know people are still selling. I have a house for sale in Colorado that I'm selling right now. It's a rental property that I've had for 7 years. But I think it just depends upon your market and how much of your market is open.
Gotcha. Very interesting. So it's a moving target, but that sounds...
It definitely is a moving target.
Yeah. Well, and so, being a leader in an organization, in a franchise like that you're in, tell me a little bit about the last few months, how that's been going. And I know you just have a lot going on. So, but ultimately, as a leader, as a CEO, how have you navigated through this COVID effect, if you will?
So that's been interesting. We've had to be in the forefront. I'm going to approach this 2 different ways, on the franchise side as well as more kind of a business leader side for my employees and for the business itself. Yeah. But on the franchise side, we've had to stay up to date, and we were having conference calls after conference calls with our franchisees on trying to get them to stay in the forefront of what's going on. What do you need to do? Look, There's eviction moratoriums coming out state by state and nationwide and so on and so forth, and just making sure that they know of that, because we can't evict anybody, or we couldn't evict anybody for non-payment during those few months. If something was already in the process, we still could, depending upon the state. But we needed to keep them in the forefront of what's going on, and I think that's our job as the franchisor, and I think franchisees are looking to us as the franchisor for leadership and guidance. We're not an end-all, be-all. We don't know all the answers, but they're looking for us for guidance. I'm not in the restaurant business, but I almost bought a restaurant franchise over the last couple of weeks, and some people laugh at me knowing my health conditions and health issues. But I look at that, and if you are in that space, because I've eaten out a lot, even though I'm on a strict diet and so forth with my health condition.
Yeah, right.
But your franchisees need to know, do they need a face guard at the teller machine or at the cash register? If you're doing drive up, and I mean, we've shared it on our end, like all of our offices, our corporate office is still closed. And so it's only by appointment only here. So I'm using the restaurant industry a little bit more because I think that has a little bit more play in it. But if you're in the restaurant business, like your customers or whatever business you're in, your customers need to know how to contact you and how to communicate with you.
Right.
If I'm at a restaurant and I'm mobile ordering, I pull up to the side of the restaurant and I try to open it and the doors are locked. Well, tell me, I ordered my food. How do I get my food? You go to Chick-fil-A, you know exactly what to get with Chick-fil-A, with McDonald's. They've done a fantastic job with that.
Right.
Your franchisees expect that from you, as well as if you're a franchisee, your customers expect that from you, no matter what industry you're in. If it's property management, if it's restaurant, they need to know how to communicate with you. If they're in front of your building, can they come in? Are you locked up? Put a sign up in front. We've got to communicate that stuff to our franchisees as well as to our customers, whoever our customers are.
That's right.
So,
yeah. I was just going to echo that because we every franchisor we speak with, communication was at the top of the list, right? Both internal, the network, and then communicating things like safety, right? Like, here's how we're approaching this. Here's the details. You're safe. It's good. We're doing it, everything the way we're supposed to do it for your safety, and to let people know what to do, how to engage, because ultimately you're still providing value, right? And your audience didn't go anywhere. They're just, in some cases, they were at home. Some people are not anymore, but I mean, it was just about keeping the communication going. But with that being said,
communication, and you also said adding value. We have to continue to add value to our customers. If not, they're going to go elsewhere. And in lots of our businesses, we've had to make a shift. A good friend of mine owns a tutoring business, and he's had to make that shift and turn it to online tutoring instead of in-person tutoring, where he's tutoring 5 to 10 people at a time. And so you've got to make that shift with this. I mean, this may end in a couple months. It may end next summer. We don't know. I don't think it's going to end anytime soon, meaning the next couple months. I think we've got another 7, 8, 12 months left of this.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, there needs to be some clarity and finality to maybe it's a cure or something that's available to folks to let them know that this will be under control going forward, but it will be sort of up and down. So that's amazing. So, just in terms of your franchisees, I've heard a lot of folks talk about some innovations and the way you've adapted to the differences. Anything come out of this process where you said, you know what, we didn't do this before, but we're going to probably keep doing this. We decided to change it because of the COVID effect, but it's actually something we might continue on with in our business. Anything like that happen for you guys? So
for us, working from home, our franchisees do that a lot, especially when they're young. We require them at least to have a virtual office. If it's a shared office space, if it's with an insurance company, if it's a real estate company, whatever, we require that. But that using Zoom and just doing more Zoom calls with our clients face to face, They can be all across, halfway across the world, or all across the world, and it doesn't matter. I think the world has approached things of there's a different, easier way of doing it. It's going to be interesting with conferences. With our franchise conference, we barely were able to get it wrapped up before all of this came about. Our conference was the end of February, and so that was about a week and a half, 2 weeks before all of this happened. But it's going to be interesting. A lot of people rely on those conferences, trade shows, those things for leads or to survive one way or another. If it's selling franchises, whatever it is, are those going to continue on down the road? I don't know. For us, we try to do a lot more Zoom calls for training, speaking with our clients. We're also doing, like when we were doing at the height of this, when everybody was kind of scattering and going, hey, what are we doing? We weren't just having Zoom calls with our franchisees. We were having Zoom calls with our owners as well, and opening that up system-wide to do a Q&A. I mean, we couldn't get in state by state Pacific, but overall, giving them a sense of surety and understanding, look, you're in good hands with Keyrenter. This is what's going on as a whole with Keyrenter Property Management. And other offices could chime in as well. And I think we had around 250, 300 owners on that call. We have about 5,000 total right now. But it was amazing how many got on and wanted to know what we were doing. And I think just educating the franchisees as well as educating your customers and helping them, put them at ease, whatever your business is. But you've got to have your customers and put your customers at ease.
That's right. That's right.
And continue adding value there.
I know. And you know, and for Rick and I, we see a lot and talk to a lot of franchisors like yourself. And, you know, what we've advised on, and because we have a consulting practice and things like that, but we, you know, it's about the momentum, right? It's about keep it going, keep communicating with your franchisees, your communities, your customers, your prospects, because when this stuff starts to kind of rebound or come back, you want to still be there, right? And if you're going to go radio silent, then, you know, what's going to happen, right? You're not going to be in a better position.
You got to still be relevant. Make yourself relevant.
Yeah, that's right. And we've seen a lot of innovation. That's why I brought that up. And so let me ask you this in terms of franchise development. I know you guys have been growing the last few years. And how do you see that working for you guys going forward? Just navigating, let's say, the next 12 months. How are you dealing with new franchise development?
So with us on that, I love bringing new franchisees here to the office. I want to shake their hand. I'm old school that way. I want to meet them. I want to see how they act in between the conversations, how they interact with other people. It's tough to get that with Zoom. So that's been my biggest thing that I miss from it. We've had about 3-4 different discovery days, I think 4 over the last couple months. We brought on a few franchisees over the last month as well. I wish I would have been able to meet them in person, but we're doing those discovery days via Zoom. They are, I want to say they're from 9 a.m. They start 9 a.m. on a Friday, and we go till 2 a.m. or 2 in the afternoon. So however long that is, 5 hours, 6 hours. And we take about a 45-minute break in between there. So the people, half hour, 45-minute break so they can have lunch and do whatever. And so we're still doing the discovery days like that and trying to still have them the best we can. All of our staff are on the calls. They're able to meet everybody that way. With training, we're doing our training on Zoom as well. Not my ideal. I want them here for a few days. But at the end of the day, we've got to continue on with business. And these people, I mean, they can still go out and start a property management business today. It's a little different as far as interacting because this is a relationship business, I tell everybody. And so you've got to do relationships a little bit different, and you've got to pay for some of those relationships at the beginning, the pay-per-click and pay-per-lead sources. but see what they can do to get a part of the B&I groups that are doing the Zoom calls and getting in front of people via Zoom as much as they can, or some type of video conferencing to create those relationships.
Absolutely. I mean, just keep moving forward.
Yep.
That's amazing. So a lot of also what we've been hearing, and maybe it's that positive opportunistic mindset that we all have as entrepreneurs, right? But I really believe the franchise industry will be a benefactor of some of these adverse times we're going through. I think there's a lot of folks that are reassessing, right? They're going through change because they were forced to, but now they're looking towards another place, right? Maybe franchising. So we're all hoping for an uptick. I didn't know what your thoughts were on that. What are your thoughts just in the industry and for franchise opportunity seekers? What are your thoughts on the timing as of now?
I think there will be an uptick. For me and some of my friends that also have that are franchisors, it's interesting to see. I've heard from people the caliber of potential franchisees are awesome right now. So for franchisors out there, like, this is your time to shine, to bring on some good franchisees. And I think part of the reason there is the potential franchisees out there, they're funneling their interest. They've changed their interest a little bit. The ones that aren't open right now, the franchisors that aren't open and having a harder time right now, it's tough to sell franchises in those brands. I have a friend in one that's in an eyelash brand, cosmetic eyelashes. He's still selling those, selling 3-packs and different territories, but it definitely is harder for them to sell. So I feel like some of those potential franchisees are coming in over to my space or other spaces that we weren't forced to shut down. And so those particular industries are able to shine, and this is our time to bring on more good quality franchisees during this time when there's, I guess, fewer pickings out there. I mean, when it opens up, or 6 months ago, those potential franchisees, they had a slew of options. And now that's kind of narrowed down for them and their mindset. Obviously, our mindset, especially if my franchise brand closed, like, I still want them to look at me. Yeah. But to them, it's like, okay, what's recession-proof or recession-resistant as much as possible? And it seems like those particular industries are really seeing a lot of interest and a lot of uptick there.
Makes sense. Yeah, totally makes sense. And that's a good point you brought up that I hadn't heard articulated that way. You're right. The talent pool is definitely much improved, right?
Yeah, and I think your tire kickers right now, we're not seeing as many of those like what we saw 6 months ago.
Right.
I don't know if they're working or if they're home watching TV now because they're collecting unemployment, and they're fine with that. But there just doesn't seem to be a lot of tire kickers out there. Yeah. I mean, there still are, but not like it was 6 months ago.
Not like it was, right, with a thriving economy and job market.
Yeah.
Well, that's great to hear. Franchise. So there are really two things. It's like being in business, with a network, right? Not by yourself, but for yourself, but not by yourself is huge. And then folks just needing an opportunity to have more control, more over their destiny, right? Instead of being hitched to a larger corporation where you just don't know. So yeah, hopefully. For all of us, right? That'll
yep.
do that. So that's great. So as we wrap up the show here today, I do appreciate your feedback and everything you're saying. I'd like to ask a final question, and you can kind of take this from any angle that you'd like, personal, professional. But tell us a little bit about any tips or gold nuggets that you have for the audience to leave with them. And I know that you've overcome a lot of adversity, so you feel free to share what you'd like, but you're an amazing leader, so I just wanted to share that with the audience. But go ahead, and if you have some tips or closing.
So a couple things. I mean, as I don't know, CEOs or as people in the industry, we love what we do. I love what I do, and I spend a lot of time here at the office that my family and my wife wishes I would spend at home. but I also try to spend a lot of time with them at home. I mean, I just came back from a 5-day weekend with the holiday last weekend and so forth, and that's kind of one of the luxuries that I get. But on the same hand, I was here till 10 o'clock last night. It was one of my late nights. I put in 2 late nights a week. So for me, I focus on what really matters, and that's both at home. When you're at home, be at home. Focus on the wife. Focus on the kids. If you have to put your cell phone in a drawer and leave your laptop at home, or when I'm at home, I try not to do any work. Yeah. When I'm on vacation, it's a little harder, especially over the 5 days. I'll put in 2-3 hours of work in the morning, but the afternoons, and I try to do it early in the morning. Yeah. But focus on what really counts there, and then bringing that to the office. To me, I mentioned to you and people, I've had some health issues over the last 6-7 months, with being diagnosed with I'll just say being diagnosed with 2 types of cancer, stage 4 colon cancer, which doesn't have a high prognosis. And so I've had to have that with all of my staff going, okay, am I going to have a job here next week or next month? Yeah. What's happening with the business? And with that, focusing really what matters, and it's the employees. It's them that I need to spend my time and effort with. And so over the last 6 months or 5 months, it's really been, how can I meet with each of them every single week to help them reach their goals as well as my goals? Yeah. And at least spending an hour with them every week. I let them know what my outcome wants. What do I want my outcome to be? Right. I want their help to come up with the way to get that outcome. I don't care how we get there. Yeah. Let's do it together. But this is the outcome we need to have, and figure it out. Well, I'm here to help, but really investing in your staff as well, and giving them the time, at least the leadership, a part of your staff, giving them the time that they need from each of the senior leaders to know the direction, to know that you care, to know that so that they know what kind of outcome you're wanting, not just with stock or not with just revenue, but the other outcomes that really matter within the business, focusing on what really counts and putting your time into that at home and at the office. That's
well put, and I can only tell listeners that I'm truly inspired. Like we had a conversation before this, and truly amazed with what you're accomplishing right now every day, and both being hit from a personal angle and a professional angle and a social angle, whatever you want to call all that. But amazing, and obviously we're all pulling for you, we're pulling for your brand, and you're exactly right. I mean, the people around you. Right? Your family, your employees, your franchisees, your customers. That's what it is, right? Making an impact in their worlds, and helping them live a better life. And that's amazing. So I appreciate you sharing that with everybody. So that's going to do it for our show today. Did you have anything else that you wanted to share, Aaron, before we wrap the show up?
I don't think so. I appreciate taking the time to talk with you, being on the show. Thank you. Yeah. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, you can just via LinkedIn or Facebook, any of those. Yeah. Love to talk franchising franchising and real estate. That's my 2 love. That's my family.
2 cool places to be. So with that being said, is there a website that the listeners could check out the opportunity or maybe the services? Is there a good website for them to check out?
Yeah, keyrenter.com/franchise, or you just go to keyrenter.com, up the top right-hand corner, just click on franchise. People can get a hold of me that way as well. But we have webinars that via Zoom that we do once a month, as well as weekly calls, validation, and other calls that we do that we try to get people on.
Beautiful. Awesome. I appreciate that. Well, folks, that's going to do it for today's show. I appreciate you listening. Again, I want to thank entrepreneur.com and franchisebiblecoach.com. You can check those sites out for supporting us. And once again, as we like to say at Franchise Bible Coach, fight the good fight. and keep on going. We appreciate your time. Bye for now.